Hello, everybody. Welcome to the ICEP Italy pre-departure orientation. Okay, a little introduction. My name is Destiny Nicholson. I am the Student Service Officer for Southern Europe, located in the ICEP Global Office. I am your direct contact for any and everything in the application process throughout your study abroad experience and post experience. You can reach out to me whenever. Today we'll go over a few different things, including culture and daily life, academics, health and safety, know before you go, and how to keep in touch with ICEP. Okay, first we'll go over life in Italy. Here's a little bit about Italian culture. Italy is made up of 20 different regions, each have their own unique culture. Italians feel a lot of connection to their regional culture, especially as they carry their own dialect and dishes. And historically, Italy's northern regions have stronger economies, lower rates of unemployment. It's more work focused. Family is a huge deal to Italians. They very much prioritize time with parents at home until they're ready to start their own families, which typically means until they're engaged or married. Families usually spend Sundays gathering, whether that's for church and a long meal or just to spend family time together. A classic Italian phrase is dolce far niente. This translates to the sweetness of doing nothing. It's a huge thing in Italian culture where they just very much enjoy the simple pleasures of taking in life, sharing a meal with company, art, music, architecture, anything related to the culture. A little bit about daily life in Italy. Italians typically have breakfast in the early mornings up until about 11:30. This is typically a croissant or a light bread with butter, jam, something small. Lunch is typically had between the times of 12:30 and 2:30, and dinner is typically between 7:30 to 11 p.m. However, during the day, a lot of times, a lot of restaurants and food spots will be closed from about 3 to 7 p.m. as they typically take this time to not serve. A typical dinner in Italy goes pretty long and it starts pretty late compared to US standards. A typical dinner would start around 9 p.m. and they like to enjoy their meal slowly. At restaurants and bars, you'll have to request your check before it will be given to you. Typically, bars are referred to as coffee shops in Italy. The majority of Italy is Catholic and can oftentimes businesses will be closed on Sundays. However, supermarkets, especially large chains, will remain open. And Italy is known for their nightclubs and discotecas, which are, parties, fun times to be out, enjoying the social culture. If you do decide to go out at night, we recommend that you travel in groups. And when you're out on the streets, just avoid being loud and disruptive, as this can cause conflict with neighbors. It's just best to observe quietness in the streets at night. A little bit about interpersonal relationships in Italy. Italians are generally very friendly, easy to have conversation with, especially if you are trying to use a little bit of your knowledge of the Italian language. Italians typically will greet each other with to say hello or goodbye with a kiss on each cheek. Handshakes in more professional settings. They may have a different take on the personal space than what you're used to. They're typically more usually standing closer together, talking closer, generally more comfortable with physical touch. Common greetings in Italy are to say hello and goodbye, you might say ciao. Typically, if you're going to speak to older adults or you're in a business, to say good morning, you say buongiorno. Good afternoon would be buonasera. To say good night when you won't see them anymore for that day or that night would be buonanotte. All greetings in the Italian language, and typically you'll learn once you arrive the difference between formal and informal greetings. Okay, a little bit about the housing in Italy. So typically, exchange and direct students will stay in apartments or student residences. These are shared with other university students. They come furnished with most things that you'll need. The amenities may differ from what you're used to in your home country. Typically, you won't find dryers and dishwashers. Some to few apartments will have air conditioning, but again, this is rather rare. It's important that you check if you need to bring your own sheets and towels. These are also things that you can buy once you arrive. However, it's important to know whether you will need these upon arrival or not. And you can check that in your ISEP dashboard under your pre-departure information, and it's also in your acceptance package. Typical commute from your residence to your class can be around 30 to 40 minutes. This also depends on the city you're in, as certain Italian cities may be smaller or bigger than the other. If you have any questions about this while you're on program, you can contact your host coordinator. Again, their information is in your ISEP dashboard. Restaurant culture in Italy. So Italians will usually drink their morning coffee standing at a bar. Like I said earlier, a bar is often term used as for a coffee shop. If you wish to take your drink to go, they don't typically do morning coffees to go. If you're going to visit in a local Italian shop, if you wish to enjoy your coffee sitting down, you should ask for a table. Pizza in Italy is Napoleon style. So it typically will look a little different um, than American pizza or pizza in your home country. So that's something to be, vigilant of. It is very tasty, so that's not an issue. Um, it is not recommended that you take food to go in Italy. Uh, some places will allow this, specifically pizza and panini shops. However, it's not the common way to go about finishing your dinner in the country. Uh, Tipping is a little bit uncommon in Italy. Usually there is a service charge included on your bill, and you'll see that. It will also usually be stated on menus when you sit down at a restaurant. If you do feel like you had excellent service, you can feel free to leave €1 or two as an extra tip in cash before leaving. Okay, a little bit about technology in Italy. So, Wi-Fi is generally not as common as it is in a lot of other countries, or maybe your home country. Some restaurants and coffee shops will have Wi-Fi, some may not. If you are studying in Milan, Milan offers free public Wi-Fi called Open Wi-Fi Milano. Once you register, you can enjoy this Wi-Fi around the city. If you are worried about your cell phone service or wondering a little bit more about that, a lot of students spending exchange semesters or years in Italy will choose to purchase a SIM card once they arrive. This is something that's important that you check with your phone provider before you leave for Italy. See what international coverage you may have, if your phone is unlocked for service to change the SIM card. If that is an option, there are several options once you arrive. Typically, students will use the company's Wind, TIM, or Vodafone to purchase SIM cards. A lot of them do offer student discounts, or you can check with your home university or your host university to see which they may recommend to you in that region. Uh, you're deciding to make a call while you're abroad using your home country's phone, you will need to enter +39 to make those calls. We do recommend that students download WhatsApp or any other app that they like to use on Wi-Fi to communicate with family and friends back home. And a remember is that Italy does have a different electrical outlet than the US. So it is like the one pictured here. It's two long prongs, and we recommend that you bring adapters with you. These can be purchased easily at convenience stores, on Amazon, or stores like Target, so anywhere that you can find them in your area. A little bit about finances. So Italy does use the euro, which is the same value in all Eurozone countries. There are 7 different euro notes, which would be more of a bill, and 8 euro coins, which you can find both listed on the screen. It's important to keep track of the exchange rate between euros and your home currency. This can fluctuate almost daily, so it's important to just be vigilant. Um, Another key reminder is to inform your bank that you will be staying overseas. Some credit cards and banks may have foreign transaction fees for purchase outside of your home country, so this is good to check in about before you leave for a program. ATMs are common throughout Italy. There usually is a fee that comes with pulling out money from an ATM. We do recommend that you withdraw €250 or less at a time, just to avoid being a target for pickpocketers. Take as little cash as you need with you and store the rest in your apartment or somewhere else safe. Typically, credit cards will be accepted at grocery stores and restaurants, larger cities in Italy, but it is important to carry a little bit of cash on you regularly just in case. Sports are huge in Italy. What's typically known as soccer in the US is known as football in a lot of European countries. There are tons of free recreational activities that students can partake in, whether that's art museums, historic squares, architecture, anything of the sort. Typically, there are teams all around Europe. I know specifically in Italy, both Florence and Milan have soccer teams, so you can always enjoy fun sports games while you're abroad. A few major holidays and vacation periods that might take place during your semester or your year abroad is Carnival. This happens prior to Ash Wednesday. It's observed in Italy and it's a huge celebration. They have floats, parades, lots of costumes, as you can see in the photo pictured, drinks, good food. A lot of people will travel to Venice. Carnival is super popular in Venice, and if you ever go, you'll typically see carnival stores with masks and costumes that are open year round. A typical vacation period for Italians is during the week of August 15th. This is the week of Assumption. It's a Roman Catholic holiday, and other holidays that might be observed during your semester or your year abroad are New Year's Day and Christmas. Okay, let's continue. A few important things that you may not know. The sizes of coffee in Italy are generally smaller than those in the US. If you enter a bar, coffee shop, and ask for a coffee, you will be given espresso. So that's something to keep in mind. If you would like a black coffee, you can ask for cafe americano. Again, similar to food, taking coffee to go is not as common. It's typical to drink it at the bar, or if you wish to stay and enjoy your coffee, to ask for a table. Italy, while known for its gelato, has a lot of shops spread out all around, but keep in mind that all gelato is not created equal. In tourist spots, you can typically find ice cream imitating gelato. For key reference, gelato is typically denser and has less fat. To avoid this, we recommend you look for gelato that's stored in metal tins. Typically, the best will have lids over them or they won't be piled high. As you can see in the photos below, the one on the left is a good imitation of gelato. The one on the right, where you can see it's piled high, is something you'd like to avoid. Another tip is that it should be naturally colored. So if you see a bright yellow lemon gelato, it's probably not a good, gelato. You want to look for one that is typically more white than yellow as it's naturally flavored. Okay, now we can discuss a little bit about culture shock. Don't let culture shock, typically this will happen in the beginning. Don't let it, feed into the rest of your experience. And it's okay to seek help, whether that's from peers, from your host coordinators, your ISEP coordinators, or your ISEP staff that's, at your disposal. Feel free to reach out to myself if you're going to Italy for any issues you may have. I know culture shock can be a little intimidating and hard to adjust, but just remember that it's part of the process if this happens to you, and don't worry about it. We are here to help. Another reminder is that there is reverse culture shock, as what a lot of people refer to as. So once you get used to the culture in Italy, once you return home, you can have a little bit of culture shock as you readjust to your home culture and things that you're used to that may have been a little different while you were in Italy. Again, there are many people at your disposal to use as resources to help you through this. So always reach out if you have any concerns or you want to just vent about things that are different that you might be having struggles with. And I'll share a few reflections from past ICEP students. So one quote is, "The key to my experience was to be flexible and adaptable. It's important to take responsibility for my actions and to not have expectations on what my experience will be. I learned so much more by being adaptable, exploring outside of my university as well. Always say yes to a new experience if you feel somewhat drawn to do so. While it's important to take rest days, I learned how to take care of myself by finding hobbies and things to do outside of staying at home and doing nothing." The second one reads, "For me, having to create a whole new life for myself completely away from all of the people and places I knew was the most valuable learning experience. I learned about myself through doing that because I got to see what kinds of people I would choose to befriend and what kind of activities I would choose to participate in when I had no influence from expectations of people who know me well. I got to see different ways of living and incorporate some of them into my life at home." The third reflection reads, I learned to make sure to use my resources readily available to me. Unexpected situations will happen to you if you react to them quickly, and the best thing to remember is that you have a whole network of people here to assist you. Again, following up on the previous slide, ICEP and your host university, as well as your home university, almost always have resources available to you. So always reach out, whether that's just a listening ear or being connected to other resources. We are here to guide you and help you through that process. Again, some key takeaways from this is that a lot of students learn to be adaptable, how to problem solve. So while something might be a problem in the moment, it teaches you how to move forward and deal with those to make your experience the best that it can be. Okay, moving on to academics. Again, another important resource that we encourage you to visit and read through is your ICEP Country Handbook. This can be found in your ICEP dashboard as well as on our website, so feel free to visit whenever. And again, we'll go into more academics. So the education system in Italy might be a little different than what you're used to. Students generally enroll in a set program of study. Typically, this is in same as the reference to a major at your home university. Students have longer periods to attend common classes and work on group projects. There typically tends to be less guidance than in your home country, especially the US. They really prioritize individual learning, and there's often a large amount of outside reading, and students typically tend to study hard for exams. Many courses have important finals. This is an exam which will determine a large portion of your grade. So if you're staying prepared and readily reading throughout the semester, this should be no problem. And your professors are there to help you navigate how that works for you as a student. A little bit about campus culture in Italy and the opportunities to get involved. Some programs have volunteering and community engagement opportunities. If you want to know more about this, it's typically a selection you can make in your application, or you can reach out to me, your student service officer, to inquire on what may be available, as well as your host university coordinator. There are sports leagues at some universities, as well as in the city itself for students to attend, art organizations. I know a lot of our programs include buddy programs where you can be partnered with another student or a family in the local area to learn more about the culture and the language. Again, if this is something that you may be interested in, feel free to reach out. There's also typically international student activities for students that are international to come together to meet each other for ways to get involved in the local community or with local students. Again, it's really important that you speak with your host coordinator if you have any interest in these, and they can set you up. A little bit further into the academics itself in Italy, the grades are given on a scale of 1 to 30. 18 is the lowest passing grade. I included a screenshot of a grading scale below so you can reference to the US grade equivalents. The grading policies may vary by each course or university, so that's something to pay attention to in your acceptance package and when you arrive on campus to speak with your host coordinator or your professors if you have any questions. Again, the final exams typically are or determine a large portion of your grade. Some of these can be oral and some may be written, depending on the course, the professor, or the department. Typical credit system in Italy are ECTS. This stands for the European Credit Transfer System. It can also be called CFU in Italy. Most local students typically take about 30 ECTS per semester, and the ECTS scale to US credit scale is 2 to 1. So 30 ECTS would be equivalent to a 15 credit semester in the US. Credit transfer policies vary at each home institution. It's important that you're checking with your home university how your credits will transfer and getting the syllabi reviewed but prior to arriving on campus or prior to registering for your courses. Again, if you need any of those documents or syllabi, you can reach out to us or you can visit the program page where typically they can be found online. An important reminder is that in order to receive your grades and credits for the courses that you complete on program, you must follow explicit instructions from your ISEP coordinator. Sometimes this can also come in orientation or at the end of your program for how to send your transcript directly to ISEP. Okay. Again, registration for courses may vary from your home university. You'll receive course instruction information from your ISEP pre-departure tab in your dashboard. Registration typically takes place online about 2 to 3 months before the start of your program, and you'll receive emails from both your host and ISEP. Courses may need to be adjusted. It's important to keep an open mind. We recommend students finding between 6 to 8 courses that fit within their degree program. And registration methods do vary. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to both myself or your host for how to complete that. Be sure to check with your professors that you're on the class list once you are enrolled in courses and on program. Once your course selections are final, you can contact your academic advisor at your home university to make sure that you'll be able to earn credits for all of the courses that you're enrolled in and that it will meet the home institution's policies. Okay, typically professors are approachable. It's important that students proactively reach out to professors and classmates if they have questions or they need help. Write to your ISEP coordinator or your academic advisors for general questions, or if you have trouble contacting a professor, they're there to help you. If you need to miss a class or you'll be late for any excused reasons, please be sure that you're making sure you're connecting with your professors and you're completing any coursework you may have missed. Now we'll dive into health and safety. A few critical resources for you to review before you go on program is for you to watch the full health and safety presentation that you'll receive via email. This is also typically available on ISEP's website. That you review all personal safety while abroad resources to have as reference. That you're following guidance from your peers and those on program at your host university and how to keep yourself safe. We highly encourage you to review your insurance coverage information and make sure you have this readily available to you. Make sure that you're using all campus resources that are available to students. And we definitely recommend that you save the ISEP 24/7 emergency line, which you can find on the screen. We recommend students save this to their phone as soon as possible so that they can always reference it. And again, ISEP's emergency line is available 24/7 for students. A few reminders is that the emergency service number in Italy is different or may be different from your home country. If you ever need emergency services, be sure that you're dialing 112. This is very important that you have written down in your phone or saved somewhere that you will remember this. Okay, moving on, health and safety in Italy. If there's ever a protest or a strike in your general region, we recommend that you do not attend. Even planned peaceful protests can turn rowdy, and we just would rather students avoid this on program. Make sure you're paying attention to security warnings from your university, the local government, and to blend in, follow social norms. Your host university will generally go over these in your orientation as well, things to be mindful of. Make sure you're being aware of what's in your pockets and your pockets are how accessible they are. Pickpocketing is something to avoid in Europe. Avoid displays of wealth as this can make you a target. Don't carry all your cards and cash in your wallet at once. Be sure to leave some in your apartment or back home just in case. We also recommend, again, being aware of your surroundings. If you decide to if you decide to drink, practice safe and responsible use of alcohol while you are abroad. Make sure you're traveling and being situationally aware of your surroundings, keeping a watchful eye and open mind. And typically, if you can, we always recommend travel in pairs or small groups, definitely not alone, especially if you're traveling at night. You can look to your ISEP host coordinator, local students for any information around safety while you're at your host university and traveling. Now we'll go into the know before you go section. Here's a little bit of tips regarding packing. So again, make sure you're packing for weather that's suitable to your host city, whether that's Milan or Florence or anywhere else in Italy. It's important that you're being aware of the semester that you're going and what temperatures you will encounter. Italy typically has a Mediterranean climate, mild winters, lots of sun, low rainfall. Again, also depending on your region, temperatures typically range in the winter or the summer between 51 degrees Fahrenheit or 15 degrees Celsius. Make sure that you're packing your toiletries, any medications you may need, and ensuring that you are able to bring these medications into the country with you. As we discussed earlier, there are different electrical plugs in Italy, so make sure you're bringing appropriate adapters or converters based on the electronics you're bringing with you. And again, we recommend that you check your pre-departure information within your ISEP dashboard. And this is also where you can read through and see if you will need to bring sheets or towels or what is provided. And again, those can be purchased once you arrive, but it's important to be vigilant of what you need to bring. Here are a few things to do before you go on program. If you're a direct student, make sure that you're paying your program fee at least 30 days before the program start date, that you're checking with your home phone provider on your international plan, or you may need to purchase a SIM card once you arrive, that you make sure you know the date and time of your orientation once you are on site. Make sure that you're aware of the minimum full-time credit requirements for both your home and host universities before you register for courses. We recommend you write down the address of where you'll be going and where your apartment is, and bring this in your carry-on for when you arrive. It's also important that you have your host coordinator's email and phone number written down in case you're unable to activate your internet access once you get there. This way you have a way to contact them. Also, make sure you're bringing physical copies of all your important documents with you. We recommend at least 2 copies, one to be in your carry-on and extras to be in your checked bag. Also, make sure that you have electronic copies of these in case anything were to happen to your physical copies, whether that's in your Google Drive or saved to your phone. It's really important that you have those copies readily available to you. How to keep in touch. So we really recommend that you determine before you leave for a program how you plan to stay in touch with your family and friends. This can also coincide with what you plan to do for your phone accessibility while you're in Italy, whether you'll be keeping your home phone plan or you'll be using a SIM card from a phone plan in Italy. Again, we do recommend students download WhatsApp to stay in communication with friends and family, and always remember to keep your family updated as you arrive on program, as you travel, anything of the sorts. That way they know that you're safe. And if you wish to connect with other ISEP students or to share your story, you can use our social media to connect with those students. We do have an ISEP students page on Facebook. You also do have the option to become a digital ambassador, which you can apply for. You can find more information about this on our ISEP website. We also do have a Twitter and Instagram account, and you can always use the hashtag ISEP Study Abroad to share photos and updates with the ISEP staff. We always enjoy this, and feel free to send them whenever. All right, thank you.